Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. Thank you so much for your support. We're live. So, obviously, if you didn't have your heart out or your heart on your throat, a few, last night, you may want to check your pulse because we witnessed the U.S. Open Cup round of 16, and it was pure cinema. It was a 7 goal thriller, back and forth, never say die. That ended up with the Lions roaring back, you know, and getting the W, which was amazing. The win is huge for the momentum, for the you have to celebrate the wins. So I think it's important to celebrate the wins. Um, there's been a lot of changes within the club. We don't want to be certainly the negative Nancy's and just like, but we are going to, discuss today the massive win that they had against New England 4-3. Not just because it sent us to the quarterfinals, I feel. I think it's because it proves exactly um, who the team who the team is right now. So it's under coach Martin Perlman, and there is a new influx of youth that it's a product of the academy. And with that, everybody that has worked in the academy before, has held a position within the academy, and also Rico Moreira and everybody. So it's a process that has brewed into what we saw yesterday. And having Maguire, Atuesta, Brecalo, Pasalic, Gervais, Miller all sidelined, these young guys showed up. They erased all the deficits they had in front of them, and then obviously Zakaria Taifi tapped it home off Tyree Spicer's cross. And definitely it was a character win, character build win. So it was a win built on character, on the shoulders of the newcomers to the club, like Griffin Dorsey and Iago Teodoro, and also on the backs of the young kids that bleed purple, because these kids literally came into the academy with a shot for an opportunity, and they waited patiently to be called in to have this opportunity, and then they took the brass ring and ran with it. So a lot of positives today. Now we ride this high straight into the Florida Derby with really a lot of time left against an Inter Miami on Saturday. And after surviving Rhode Island, can we pull the upset? We're going to be discussing that today as well. The Lions definitely prove they can score. I think it's safe to say that Justin Ellis took, it sounds a little confrontational what I'm about to say, but I feel like Ellis probably took Duncan's spot, but it's a derby. Derbies are meant to be won. And even though we may down on the totem pole right now in the standings, I think a derby, not Inter cannot take us very lightly. And then we should not underestimate Inter also and the power they can have. So it's a 50-50, but it's a must win for the Lions away. We won with a yellow jersey against New England, so that the sunken curse is broken, right? And with that, David, what's up, my friend? Good to see you.
Hello, Luis. Hello, everybody watching and listening and all that. I'm not as positive about the win. I mean, a win's a win. I'll take the win. It is what it is, as our coach likes to say. I have some issues with the win. We'll talk about it when we get over to the game. But I'm not. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to take away the heart of the kids. Right. I mean, they really were sort of the heartbeat of what this match was. They were kind of the reason why this happened. Obviously, a little bit with the help of Tyree Spicer as well, which obviously I don't want to take that away from him either. But I am in that camp of I didn't see enough to give myself a ton of confidence going into Miami or really the rest of the season. And I know that might sound defeatist or that might sound negative, but obviously I'll hopefully explain that to you all tonight and get the understanding of it. But Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean a win's a win. You move on in the competition. That's what we wanted. Obviously anybody who watched the game knows that New England rotated hard. They played a lot of Revolution 2 kids and their bench was not very deep either. So this should have been a match that was very winnable. I know when I saw the lineup, I'm sure Luis felt the same way, and so did all of you out there. That Carlos Heel not being in the lineup, the matchday squad at all, was a huge win for us because not having to go up against Carlos Heel is a big, big win anytime you can avoid that. But when we started off kind of slow, that's where it got me worried, and that's kind of where my concern is. But we'll dive into it a little bit with that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting the rest of the way.
Sure, let's read some comments. It says Booty Sweat. Ellis is the hot hand, so he should be the starter now. Well, yeah. I mean, we have really nobody else up top.
Well, it helps
Right.
Duncan's still injured, so.
Yeah, it says Donnie Moore. Spicer is a playmaker, proving it more and more each match. Yeah, but obviously, it's kind of like what David mentioned. I feel like he was. I think another team would have definitely predicted he was going to do those crosses, and those crosses weren't defended well at all. But again, he had a massive game. Copacetic Buddha, that game was a roller coaster of a game. 100%. It's probably the best game we've seen in a U.S. Open Cup
It's
so
the
far.
most. It's the most yelling I've done all year at my TV screen. I'll say
It
that.
was incredible, exciting game. I wish the stadium wasn't so empty. George
Yeah.
Almeida says, "How's it going, guys? How do you see the Derby going this weekend?" We'll dive in just a second about that. Thank you, sir. Kenneth, you have to play the players that are performing. Yep, you're completely right. It was a spicy night for sure, says Kenneth Allen. The magic died for last night's win. Full speed ahead on the Open Cup. There you go. Supporting Orlando City from Peru. Thank you, Vinco. Appreciate you. Was ready for this podcast. Can we be the first team to beat Miami in new stadium? That'd be amazing if that happens. I mean, I'm not. I'm just like I'm with David on that one. I'm not feeling too froggy. I'm definitely happy for the win yesterday. I'm very positive. I think there's a lot of positives, but I mean, you got to be realistic, man. I mean, it's just my journalistic hat does not allow me to say, yeah, we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like if we come out of there with a draw, I'll be happy, 110%. Now let's talk about the first half. It was a chaotic first half. 45 minutes that ended 2-2. New England struck first in the 21st minute with Eric Klein chipped the ball behind the Lions' back line, which that was horrendous defending. And then Malcolm Fry finished it coldly in the near post. And then Orlando, 10 minutes later, scored. Thiago whipped a free kick. And then Iago, making his presence felt, definitely it is proving what it was said when he first was kind of rumored to join Orlando City, right? The pedigree that he had. He powered a header home, and it was his first goal in purple, and hopefully the many of more. He's kind of evolving into an Antonio Carlos type of figure to me. I mean, I know that the comparisons are horrible, but I think having Robin there and getting to know. I know he was kind of thrown into the fire, but you're starting to see that the kid is definitely evolving. Um, Obviously, he's still a little bit of a hothead sometimes, but that is, he's a kid. I mean, literally, he's a kid. So, but I mean, he's a. I mean, you imagine Iago with like 28 years old. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I guarantee you, the dude's gonna have a beard. Like he's gonna be like a freaking lumberjack, like jacked up. So it's gonna be a hell of a ride for Iago. I'm happy. It was a golazo, 100%. A great, beautiful header.
I was gonna
And
say
yeah,
it was
man.
so far out. Like you don't expect a header like with that loop and that kind of power behind it to be hits from so far out. But like again, like Luis said, if you've watched any of his footage like before he came over here, that's what he was known for. The guy just like he's got these towering headers. He just hasn't been as aggressive as I think he needs to be in the set piece game. I think that's really the thing. And I think the other part of it too is that I think the guys that have been giving him service up until this point don't really understand his game and understand how high up he can get. So you can put it a little bit higher than other players because Iago can go up and get that. And that's exactly what he did on this header. And he made up for kind of the soft defending that he had on the goal, right? Because he was kind of the reason why that goal went in, besides Otero's just not great goalkeeping and getting it hit through the wickets there. But like Iago was soft on the one end, but then he saw an opportunity on the other end and he was like, okay, I'm going to get this home. And that's exactly what he did. He got up and he got it. And you can't be mad about that.
Now, New England went back at it in the 37th minute with a set piece scramble. That was really bad. I don't know if you want to talk about that. The whole Gabe Dolan, which I think he was one of the rookies for them. It was, I think, his first few games with Revolution 2. Laid it off to Andrew Farrell, which he's a seasoned vet. He barely has any minutes with the first team now. And rifled it low, 2-1. But then Orlando, really surprisingly, had that Dorsey goal, which we'll see in just a moment. But I do want to say, before all of that, I think it was in the 13th minute or 14th minute, there was a goal from Justin Ellis that he missed wide open with a. And again, I'm not going to nitpick. I mean, the kid scored. He played a hell of a game. But, that could have been a 2-1 Orlando, if you know what I mean. And it would have made it a little easier for us to control the pace of the game at that point. Again, we're kind of – I don't want to nitpick, but you have to bring it out because he was an open – he hit it wide completely. Now, were you surprised that Andrew Farrell scored that goal? That scramble wasn't good to me.
No, because I think there were moments throughout the match, and this is what frustrated me. Like, listen, I like Colin Gusky. You guys know I bang the drum for the kids. Colin Gusky should not have been started as a center back in this game.
100%.
I understand they didn't have Miller. I understand they didn't have Brekalo. But at that point, you either play Janssen or you go to a back four. Those are your options, right? And with your back four, you play Marine as your left center back, you play Iago as your right center back, and then you set up that way. Having Gusky as the center back didn't make sense. He obviously got that yellow card super early in the game, which wasn't a good look either. So it just not like, again, this isn't on Gusky. Gusky just says, okay, you're going to call my number. You got it, coach. I'll do it, whatever. And I get that part, but like, he's not a center back. And then on the scramble where Farrell scores, him and Nacho Gomez don't clear the line. And so they don't clear the ball. The ball is able to get back to Farrell, and Farrell knocks it home. And that's kind of the story of a lot of the night, is that, since Gusky doesn't really have that presence, there's no good way for the defense to clear its lines. And again, as this team has done all season, they struggle on those second chance balls. They don't find a way to get the ball out and clear the ball. And again, not another great save from Otero. I thought Otero was weak, to say the least, on the night. He went from Naples, which again, I know level of competition, but you go from Naples to where he had 11 saves or whatever it is, and then you go to this game and it just not good stuff from Otero, and you're gonna see that even on the third goal as well.
Right here, look where we're gonna see the scramble right here. It's just not good. Right here, look. So right here, I don't know what are they doing right there, and then Farrell was just open.
And like the first one to be able to get to the ball is Gusky. So
yeah,
at that
you gotta
point,
clear
Gusky
it there.
Gusky doesn't need to worry about clearing it upfield. He just needs to get it out. So even if that's for a corner or that's a throw in on the other side or whatever it was, you have to just take care of it. Like, get rid of the ball at that point. And it's just frustrating again. And again, I think it was more so because he's just kind of out of position and didn't really know how to play it. But you've got to just clear the ball in that situation. And again, Otero shouldn't be getting beat near post. There's no reason for him to be getting beat near post there.
Now, obviously, Ivan Angulo to Griffin Dorsey, and then he played a 1-2 with Ellis, which was awesome. and then it was a bursted into the box. We're gonna watch it right now. It's a tremendous goal. It was his first goal in purple. So right here, look. So look at Thiago right there to Angulo, which he's the heart of the offense. I'll be honest with you, and he's the reason why he's in our thumbnail. And then look at that! Look at that pass from Angulo with the inside of his foot. Like, man, this is so silky, bro. And then look, that 1-2 with Justin Ellis and Dorsey, and then boom, Dorsey doesn't. He just punishes the keeper. That keeper had a massive bad night. I mean, if you think Otero was kind of not so great, I mean, the New England goalkeeper. I mean, poor kid, man. I
One of
don't
the
know.
lowest scores I've seen for a goalkeeper. I think he had like a 3.6 or something like that. So, yikes.
Yeah.
After
So
they praised him for their game against Rhode Island, because he was really good against Rhode Island, but again, you're playing down to competition, so.
yeah, I mean, but Rhode Island isn't that New England's rowdies?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, there's not as much history there, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, you got to give Dorsey credit, and this is the one thing that Dorsey
100%.
brings that we talk about all the time is that his offensive prowess is great. It's the defensive part that you worry about, because if you guys don't know, Dorsey was a winger in college. He wasn't a wing back. He wasn't a defender. He was a forward who played on the wing in college, and so he's good at that part. That's why he's got a shot. That's why he can also assist and things like that. And obviously, we saw how he got involved in Ellis's first goal last week, and then here he gets involved again, where Ellis again, great play by Ellis to kind of shield the defender, and then have a soft touch to go back.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then have like a soft touch to get it back. And then all Dorsey has to do at that point, and this is why I say this all the time, hit the target. Like, just fire the ball and hit the target. And you're going to have chances for it to go in. So he had to, and that's exactly what Dorsey did. And he just nailed it right into that corner. I mean, that was just a missile if you've ever seen one kind of missile.
Yeah, I just love the fact how Justin Ellis is that type of I mean, he's close. He's very similar. He's a taller Ramiro Enrique, and when I say a taller Ramiro Enrique, in a way, for the fans to understand, Ramiro had this like Argentinian, like Rio de la Plata type of inventive. That he will invent, he a little silky play, which you don't get with a lot of forwards. Justin Ellis already has that, and he's much.
Yeah, I don't agree with that comp, but I get where you're coming from. I mean, I don't think to me that's not the best comp I would put it in. I think what you're seeing here from Justin Ellis is the distribution and interplay that Muriel had with Tincho last year. That's the kind of interplay you're seeing here in terms of level.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about being inventive out of the blue.
I think Enrique was more direct than that.
Would you hit that with your chest?
What? I mean, there's not a lot of players that can. I'll give you that.
Exactly. So that's what I'm talking about. So I mean, typically you stop the ball and then you pass it. What he did is he just used his chest, which I thought it was very silky. It was very like South American. You know what I mean? Like you don't see a lot of forwards with that type, especially at that size that he has, and he's not fully grown yet. Like, I mean, he's a kid still. Like, to me, that's pretty impressive for a striker to have that type of level. And then obviously Dorsey hits it with the front of the foot, like boom, Yeah. And I mean, it was a banger of a goal right there.
Well, and Dorsey did what I've been clamoring for all season, is that this team just needs to hit the ball on target. I'm not even like, even if the shot isn't a high percentage, we see what happens when you just kind of like have a hit at it and it has an opportunity to kind of go into the net. And that's exactly what Dorsey did. And I love that for Dorsey, because again, like I said, he was a winger in college, so he's got that shot in his back pocket. So that's nice, right? But again, like, how many times this season have we seen Orlando City maybe take one extra touch or try to like put it in a better
100%.
spot instead of just hitting it? Like, hit the ball, man. Like, just hit it towards the keeper.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. And then you see a missile like that. It's very similar to Spicer in the last couple games, right? He just has a hit, and that ball just like finds a way to float in. So those are the things you're kind of looking for there.
Yeah, so
just a missile.
Yeah, it's a missile with the inside of his foot. There's nothing he can do.
No, that keeper, there was no chance for that guy.
I feel bad for that keeper, man. I mean, especially on the last goal, but I mean, I don't feel bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, And then in the second half, I mean, let's do some comments and then we'll go into the second half. Is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
uh, uh I don't know how you say that, bro. Kana, OC. The ball movement with Enrique was definitely better than with Maguire.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think Maguire is more of a pivot nine, but again, I mean, he's just been in such a drought. Like we already forgot, man. You know, I'm sorry, man. Angula's been our quarter season MVP. Always performs at high level in 2026. There you go. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Goalkeeper situation this season is looking worrying. I mean,
I'm going to touch on that in a little bit because I have some thoughts about that.
I think it is a little bit. Otero look absolutely terrible suspended. Iago won a championship with his header, says Adriana. Yeah, you're completely right. That game was a roller coaster of a game. Now let's go back into Kana's comment right here, the goalkeeper
So
situation.
do you want my hot take or not so hot take on this one?
Go, man. Go for it, bro. You know.
I think Orlando City needs to go goalkeeper shopping. And I think fans are going to say it might be too early to be saying that. But I am comfortable at this point after seeing this match and what we've seen from Crepeau all year. I think Orlando City needs to go goalkeeper shopping. Do I think they're going to in the summer? No. Should they? Absolutely. It should be on the list at this point. Both Crepeau and Otero have not shown me any bit of enough to be able to help this team get to the next level. Because remember, as okay as Pedro Galese's last 2 years with Orlando City were, and don't get me wrong, again, to break it down a little bit, his last season with us last year was better than his season 2 years ago. Yeah. But still, in both of those seasons, Pedro Galese would still keep us in a couple of games throughout the year, right? Handful of games, 5-6 games. He'd keep us in it for our offense to have the opportunity to win, right? Neither one of these goalkeepers I can make the claim for right now is doing that for Orlando City. We are having to reduce chances so that these goalkeepers don't have to struggle as much as how they're struggling. And I'm sorry, but like both of them just don't have it for me. They just don't have it. And so what I would do is if I was chief soccer officer for a day is I'd go out and find your true goalkeeper replacement, because I don't think Crepeau is it. I don't think Otero is it either. Shout out to Cleon over at Lions Den, where him and I have had this conversation a lot. It's not Otero's level. I just don't think this is his level. I know he's young still, and maybe it can be, but I just don't think it's gonna be. And so, again, I would this summer go out and deal with it, but I think it might be in the off season they reevaluate goalkeeper when we have a new manager, and the new manager says, okay, let's go get a goalkeeper.
Yeah, look, obviously, you know, we wanna, you know, it's funny because you know, this is one of the reasons why your takes matter, David, and I want to reiterate because you definitely bring us, at least on how you said it, you brought us into reality when it comes to the goalkeeping corps. And you're completely right. I mean, obviously, we're here to talk about a win, but You're completely right. I mean, there's really no denying. I do believe, just like you, and this is not disrespect to the players, and not disrespect to Crepeau or to even Javier Otero, which, you know, great people. But Orlando, since its inception, since after USL, MLS, Orlando City, have always suffered in the goalkeeping side until Pedro got here, Pedro Galese, and then obviously he had a massive impact into the goalkeeping corps, to the point that you really didn't need basically a number two for a couple of times, you know. But the latter days of Galese kind of were a little inconsistent, not the best numbers, but you're completely right. I do feel that in the off season, I mean, if it was me too, I will look for one now, but we don't have probably the space. And I don't really think the front office is going to go out of their way to do that. But I do feel that depending how, you know, because if you look at the standings, dude, if you look at the standings right now, the reason why we're second to last is because of our goal difference, dude. And I know, and just like you said, Galese would have had that number a little lower. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not saying that it's going to be
No,
super
you're right.
low. Like I'm not trying to, kiss his ass or anything like that.
Right.
But what I'm trying to is it will be a little lower. You know what I mean?
Well, let me say this,
And
Luis, to give people more practical understanding. Look at a game like, let's say Miami. That's a perfect example, right? Miami
right,
comes back in that game. I think you could convince me, and me based on looking at the footage of it, I think Galese saves 2 of those goals, and it at least ends in a draw. Still not good. You still want to get a win when you were up 2-0. But I'm convinced by looking at those goals in that game that Galese saves 2 of them. I think he saves the
100%.
penalty, or not the penalty, the free kick that Messi takes, and then he saves one of the other ones, which it's missing my brain right now on it. But just to give everyone a stat, Luis, and to make you feel better about our perception as well. One of my favorite statistics for goalkeepers, because it is a pure goalkeeper stat. Because remember, guys, to get a little nerdy here, save percentage and clean sheets is a team statistic, right? There's nothing a goalkeeper can do. It all depends on how his defense also does in front of him, right? So there's a little bit of team bias there. A pure stat, though, that doesn't get involved in that is goals prevented. So that's shots on target plus
Mhm.
expected goals divided by difficulty of shot, right? I believe is the
Right,
formula for that.
right.
Both goalkeepers, Maxime Crepeau this year is at a negative 1.14. So that means he's allowed one extra goal above average than he
Yeah,
should have, right?
yeah, no.
Javier Otero, if you look at Javier Otero, is at negative 2.70. So
Yeah,
he's let almost 3 goals above average of what he should be allowing
yeah.
past the net. That puts Otero in the 18th percentile in Major League Soccer and puts Crepeau in the 42nd percentile in Major League Soccer. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about statistics. So if you look purely at the stats as well, besides just the eye test, because the eye test tells us it doesn't look great, the statistics are even telling us it doesn't look great either. So again, I think Luis is with me that if this was our team in the summer, I'd go
Yeah,
goalkeeper shopping and just add it to the list. But I don't think it's going to happen.
yeah. Look, so if you look at Orlando City, it's in the 14th place in the East, negative 17 goal differential versus Atlanta United negative 8. I guarantee you, if let's say they would have, and again, this is Fugazi talk right now. This is Fugazi talk, but like, let's say they would have allowed Pedro to stay and lower his salary to 600,000, and they would have talked. I guarantee you that number, it would have not been negative 17. Probably would have been negative 8, negative 9. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad. Now, the problem here is if Orlando keeps losing, and let's say Philly, like Philly wins, they already will jump ahead of us because of goal differential.
Yeah.
And that is what David is saying right here too. It's not up to the level that we have, that Pedro set the bar, but also the signing set the bar. The 2022 US Open Cup set the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not at the level, and I think it is important to get that. If the team was willing to go and move part ways with Pedro to get Carlos Coronel, they need to get a replacement, a kind of similar, to that. Don't get me Sean Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, because I heard a lot of people say, no, we want to bring Sean Johnson. I understand Sean Johnson play UCF, but bro, no, don't bring Sean Johnson either. Just try to go and get another goalkeeper. It could be somebody that maybe it's on the cheap, TAM. You know what I mean? But definitely with better stats for sure. Good point right there. Now, let's talk about a positive. Obviously, after this, we have the Andrew Farrell goal, and then we have the Terry Spicer. Let's watch this right here. That could have been a goal right there, very close. Orlando started attacking nonstop, trying to get the ball.
I'll say this, and what's good about it too, Luis, about Spicer is that he's starting to feel himself, right? Because he scored all these goals and he has these assists, and you want him to take a shot like that. Yeah, a little bit off, a little bit high, whatever, right? But I want him to take a rip there, like go and make those opportunities.
I love the reaction of the team. I think I love the reaction of the team and the attitude that they showed in this game. Now I
And I'll
understand,
say
you
and
know,
I'll say this, Luis. I didn't necessarily agree with the sub right off the bat. I thought the
right,
sub was a little early. I thought it was a little harsh on Tiago. But
right.
once Spicer like got into the game and did his thing, then I was okay with it. But then as you just quickly kind of showed through here, again, just kind of sleepy
Yeah,
defense to start,
exactly.
and then Otero gets beat where he shouldn't get beat.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those. This is one of those, and I know comparisons are horrible, but this is one of those Pedro Calista saves that he would have gone with his, with his right hand. Now here, I mean, that kid Zambrano it's a great player. I don't want to say. I mean, New England has a great striker right there. Now, but yeah, you're completely right. Otero was, yeah, he a little bit out of position in my opinion right there, but it is what it is, right? I mean, Orlando got the win, but that was a tremendous goal, and I was like, oh shit. Part of my French, I was like, "Yo, are they gonna come back from this?" I'm like, I was asking myself the whole time, "Are they gonna come back from this?" Hey, and they kept coming back for this, so I was excited for that. So good on Zambrano right there. Otero was like, "Dale, dale, 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 let's go." I'm like, "Bro, what?" I just, yeah. No, Justin Ellis momentum too after this, right? Why do they put like three replays for that goal, man? Right here.
They just because they're hyping the kid up, right? Like the
Yeah.
whole like Zambrano had a good game besides that goal, so I think they really wanted to hype him up. But again, another situation where I don't want Adrian Marine 1v1 defending, and he gets caught 1v1 defending because nobody comes back to help him. Angulo doesn't come back to help him.
Mhm.
The defense doesn't rotate over to help him, so Zambrano gets the ball in a nice spot and just whales it to the corner like he's supposed to, and he puts it exactly where he's supposed to, and they could kind of tell that Otero wasn't having the best of nights. So again, just put the ball on net, right?
100%. Now, and then we go to this goal right here, the 3-3, minute 69, minute 70 almost.
Mm-hmm.
That right there was
Great cross by Spicer.
beautiful cross, but then that poor kid, that goalkeeper, completely just gave it a person that's not gonna miss. I mean, one thing that this kid is really showing is that he's clinical. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna do whatever it takes to put that ball in the net, man. I mean, he's just gonna do it. And that's one of the reasons why I was so high on him when you and like even in preseason and even in put Justin Ellis, give him a shot, because we've seen this, man, from this kid in the youth level. And I mean, you gotta understand, Ellis was the story aside of Taifi, but I feel Ellis right now from the team, the whole entire team, goal and assist, second career assist as a Lion, so 2 assists so far, and he's had 3 goal contributions in the last 3 games. So he's everywhere, linking the play, arriving in the box, giving this team a physical edge that they desperately need. And when I say edge, it's this kid. I mean, attitude, never say that, fighting for every ball, trying to score, even if it's an ugly, ugly goal, just being there, being a poacher, not being a poacher, shooting from distance, grabbing the header, like being disruptive for defenders. Like that's what a striker should be doing. I mean, this kid has a huge future ahead of him, and he's not even in his peak yet. I mean, we right now, if he keeps doing this, I mean, he's going to end up, I'm sure, kind of like a Freeman in Europe in a very short time. But then obviously with the celebration, and Orlando 3-3 leveled. And I mean, this goal from Ellis, I think was the turning point of events for Orlando City to get the win here. I think this was like, okay, yeah, we gotta put step in the gas. Now, Perlman did some changes in which in our Discord chat, I don't know if you saw, people were saying, hey, why did we put in Tahiri Brown? We took Angulo out, right? And it seemed like Coach Perlman wanted to kind of hold out the game, right? But do you feel the changes worked?
I don't know. I mean,
Right.
when he put Robin Janssen and what was it, Otavio,
Hmm.
and there was like three of them that went on all at the same time or whatever it was. I looked at it and I was like, man, we're really going that defensive,
And
like that's
Taifi.
kind of our goal here. Yeah, and I was like, is that really the goal here? And I get it because like Dorsey's still working his way back to fitness,
Right.
so the
100%.
Taifi for Dorsey one made sense, and then putting Janssen in the center back core was made sense to me because you needed something that was a little more solid and could
Exactly.
hold
Yeah.
it down. And I'm sure the intent was not to play Janssen at all. It was probably to rest Janssen the whole game. But once you realized that like Janssen was going to give you the steady presence, you were kind of looking for that. Otavio made sense to put in, but he didn't come in for Nacho, who had the yellow card. He came in for Bio Heda, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But it's fine because as I've said a lot, I like Otavio a lot. I think he just gets better the more games he gets into, and everything like that. But I was a little worried because I did feel like, oh, here we go. Perlman's gonna bunker for the
Yeah.
extra
Right.
time or the
Right.
penalties, and this is gonna be it. Because honestly, when we went down 3-2, I wasn't sure if we were gonna get the tying goal, to be honest with you. So I was glad we did. And then what's not in this highlight package is the goal that got called off sides that wasn't offside.
It was
Everyone
not
was like
offside at all.
yeah, that was losing their head about. And there's no VAR at this stage of the competition, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, we gotta
And
do
like that was
better,
not
guys.
offside. And so like I don't know what that was all about, and I don't know what the AR was doing on the far side, taking a drink break, I guess, or something.
They're eating a hot dog.
But you got it again. The final goal, though, again, it goes through the left-hand side. Spicer continuing to cook and do the things he's going to do. Great looping ball by Tincho, who gets it over to him, and then
100%.
Taifi crashes the near post like you're supposed to on something like that, and he puts
Exactly.
it right in. And then his celebration and his energy afterwards just tells you everything, right? These
Exactly.
kids have heart. We've been saying it from day one. They may not have the level of skill that some people think they might have right now, but these kids have heart. They run hard. They push hard for these things. It's like our friends. It's like some of the friends in the space like to say all the time. He runs like he's mad at the grass. That's 100% correct.
Yeah,
like these kids go for
yeah,
it.
and not only that, like we said it many times, even when John was here, that this team needed a spark. And if it took to put the kids to play, I mean, that's the spark that you're seeing right now. And again, what I'm a little worried about is that when everybody's match fit, we're going to be changing some of these dynamics. I would say to the front office and Coach Perlman, bro, ride the hot hand, bro. Ride the hot hand. It doesn't matter. I think Coach Perlman is probably more on my boat in this case because he said it even on the press conference. It's building internal competition, and it kind of is making the guy, even the guys that are injured, to recoup faster and to get into game level right away as fast as they can, because otherwise these kids are going to take their spot.
But Luis, to play devil's advocate, it's easy to say now because you still have guys that are out. It's harder to do that in practice 100%. When these guys are available. So he'll really earn his weight and gold when these guys are back and available, and we see what he ends up doing. Because I'm with you, like, you don't send Ellis out at this point. You let him continue to play, right?
I'm sorry.
One of the ones I don't agree with is people are now saying like Spicer should start. I don't think so. I think Spicer is the better super sub. That's his role right now. He's done really well with it. Why would you mess with that sort of equation? You get him in for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, even if you need to.
And he
comes in with like this new sense of energy, this new like, I'm gonna go punish, whoever's in front of me because I can put it all out there at once, right? And so, and then like, but then I think the other argument, and you and I talked about this on last show, I still think there's a discussion between Taifi and Dorsey. I don't know which one is better right now. I know everyone defaults to Griffin Dorsey, but like Taifi has done really well the last couple weeks, and you can't take that away from him, right? Especially on the defending side of the ball. He has the issue, and we've talked about this a lot, and again, I'm not going to beat up the kid too much, but like he starts out a little slow because he needs to read the game and like get into the game. But once he does, like he settles down and he settles in well. And then this game just showed what his offensive prowess is, right? He can get forward. He can score goals as well. He can assist. Like, I know he has that fluky assist that he had to Otavio, you know,
No,
their game or whatever, but he's actually got something in his bag. And so I think it's, again, like you said, it's a tough choice for Perlman. Perlman's going to have to figure out what the right levers to pull are.
and with that being said, and with what David just mentioned, and what the chat is talking about right now, bringing in with these hungry kids, because they're hungry. I mean, you can tell they're hungry, and they want to eat, and they're gonna continue eating. They're gonna give you that spark. You bring somebody like Griezmann that is able to control that hunger, able to control that, that grit.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be fantastic for this group of young guys, to have somebody like that as a leader coming in, playing UCL right now, playing the Champions League and being like man of the match in the last Atletico game.
He literally was man of the match. Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy coming in to play with them. It's going to be tremendous. Now, let's read some comments. It says, I like the energy Dorsey brings. I like the energy Dorsey brings, but I like the competition that's brewing between him and Taifi.
Yeah.
I like the competition that's brewing between him and Taifi.
All I'm saying is don't just give Dorsey the job because he's the senior guy.
Exactly.
Right? Like if they're at the same level, or if one of them trains better that week, or one of them seems like a better matchup, because I will say this, I think Taifi's the better defender, and that's not an insult to Dorsey. 100%. I just think Taifi is a better defender. So if you need somebody who's going to defend a little bit better, because guys, don't forget, Taifi just went against Farine against Naples, who was Naples' best winger / attacker, right? Mm-hmm. If he went up against Guilherme, and then he went up against Zaha, and he did well against all of those wingers. And like, you can't take that away from him, right? The kid can defend, but there's no argument that Dorsey is the better player going forward, right? Dorsey has sort of the finishing touch that maybe Taifi doesn't have yet, but Taifi's young, so that doesn't mean he can't.
Yeah, Taifi has that.
I think what I'm saying at this point is I'm not worried who starts at right wing back, right? Between Dorsey and Taifi, I think we're in a safe spot at this point.
Yeah, and also tactically, like you mentioned, David, and to tie into what you're saying, tactically, Perlman is going to have to choose, like maybe against Miami, he needs to have a back four instead of a back five, or maybe a back five with somebody more defensive on the wing. So you put Taifi there. And for some games, you're going to need that offensive spark because you need to, you have 2 games within the same week, and you cannot lose the U.S. Open Cup, and maybe at that time you go and you put Dorsey. So there's going to be games. So and that will be for the coach to decide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tactically, where they will fit. Now it's a good problem to have, and like you said, whoever gets sick first is going to get probably the starting role, and I think it's a good problem to have. I think Taifi does better defending than Dorsey, says Kenneth. I agree with both of you. If we beat ATL and Miami, I'll forget about the beginning of the season.
I mean, we need a little bit more than that, but yeah, I get where you're going with it.
Well, all I know is knowing my peeps, knowing Orlando, knowing the casuals, they're going to, if Orlando pulls the upset against Miami, forget about ATL. But I mean, okay, let's say that we beat Miami, we beat ATL. They're going to be like, Perlman no se va, no se va, no se va, Perlman no se va. As if, Perlman has a higher chance now to ride till the end of the year.
Luis, let me put this on record.
Some people are going to be talking about that. I mean, I don't agree, but
I'll put this on record, Luis, right now. If Perlman finds a way to beat Miami this weekend, and he finds a way to beat Atlanta, and remember, he has 2 opportunities to beat Atlanta, I will get on the very end of the caboose of the Perlman train if he can do those 2 things.
bro.
I promised everybody here. I will stop riding Perlman as much as I do if he can beat Miami and he can beat Atlanta in one of those two games. I'll give him the option. He can either win the Open Cup or the other one. I prefer that he wins the Open Cup, honestly, but I'll give him either option. I will get on the very end of the caboose of the Perlman stays train, but the very end of the caboose.
It says that Miami has yet to take an L in.
Yeah, but they've yet to win, so
Well, I mean,
take it for what it's
yeah,
worth.
yeah. I mean, if Orlando gives them an L, it's gonna be huge because it's gonna be history. The first derby in their new stadium, Orlando City won. You know, I respect Perlman's ability to put up points, but he's out of his depth.
I agree, Connor. I'm just doing this to satisfy the very small amount of Perlman fans that are out there.
I agree. I agree with you. I think it's probably safe to say that. Well, I mean, Orlando City needs somebody with. I mean, if we want to really, I mean, we're about to get Griezmann, bro. So I just really don't know. You know how.
So Landon's comment is where I'm at, and I agree. I agree with what Landon's saying here. But here's the problem, and I was just talking to a couple people about this today. I think though the front office takes it as no, this guy gets it. He can beat Miami. He can beat Atlanta. Like that's the way the front office is going to look at it.
And that is a normal Orlando City thinking. That's what I think Alonso brought it up too in one of his tweets.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like I don't agree. I still think this team can win despite its manager, if that makes sense.
But that is kind of like Orlando City front office mentality. You're right.
Yeah, and I think that's more so the point is that if they go out and beat Miami, and then let's say they have a good stretch to end the game, to the World Cup break. Because don't forget after that Don't forget, because after that they got Montreal, which is a winnable game. They've got Philadelphia, winnable game. Atlanta twice. Those are winnable games, right? And then Cincinnati, who is back and forth so far this year, there's some winnable games in there. So I could see this front office saying if he gets, I don't know, let's say he gets 2 or 3 wins out of that and continues on in the Open Cup, I could see the front office saying, nah, let it ride. Like, I could see them doing that. I don't agree, but I could see them doing it.
Yeah, of course, because, and again, in Orlando City fashion, like, David's been a fan for a long time. I've been covering the team for a long time. In Orlando City fashion, that kind of makes sense on kind of how Orlando's going to move because kind of like the players, they got to ride the hot hand. So in a way, yes, they're probably going to be talking to some coaches. Let's say that happens and Orlando wins against Atlanta, wins against Miami, wins against Atlanta, and then the World Cup happens and all of that. And they're going to probably be talking to some people, but if they feel like, if Orlando's in the semis or even, let's say, the finals, I mean, they're not going to take that away from the group, taking out Perlman. They're going to give Perlman his place. It just seems how Orlando kind of operates. You know what I mean? It seems like that's, I mean, they were willing to keep Pareja and offer him that contract for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Because of all he did in Orlando in the past. So it just seems fair that that's kind of the front office is. Now, I do agree with Connor right here that I think we need a coach that has a higher pedigree, in my opinion, and it's not to knock out
day one.
Not to knock out Coach Perlman. I think he's a great person, great guy. I think he's done a fantastic job so far, but we need to. I mean, if we want to, if the fans say they want to go to the next level, I mean, that's what you got to do. I think the front office is like the long-term stability that Oscar provided, though.
And I think that's why this search is going to take longer than people want it to, because I don't think Orlando City wants a coach who's going to be here for 1 or 2 seasons and is gone. I think they're going to want somebody who's going to come in and say, okay, you're going to be here for a while. And that's why, again, going to pedigree, I'd prefer somebody like a Marcelo Gallardo versus a Martin Perlman, right? Both Argentines, but one I'd rather have
100%.
Over the other. So
how do you feel about Griezmann choosing a coach? I
don't think he's like that. I think that's the difference between him and Messi, is that I think with Messi, he's dictating the show, but I don't know that Griezmann is necessarily like that. I think Griezmann will put his choices in, I'm sure. I'm sure they've talked to Griezmann about it and said, hey, if we had to bring somebody in, who would you who would you like us to talk to, or who's somebody you maybe worked with in the past. But I don't think he's going to say, we got to get this coach, or I'm going to be pissed, or whatever, right?
Look, Messi, it's a player that lately I've as a Barcelona fan, I've been so disappointed on how after he left Barcelona, how things have turned out for him. Just his attitude and the way, I mean, he's pigeonholed the league. I feel sometimes, and how a lot of things behind the scenes, like even media, it's all played around what Messi wants and what Inter Miami's doing, and it's annoying, right? And Inter Miami doing things that are not in the guidelines of the MLS for media, and then the rest of the clubs are like, okay, well, if Inter's not doing it, then we won't do it either. You know what I mean? So it's just become, rather than helping the league, it's become of like, we are, he's two heads above the common folk, right? And he's very snobbish. In my opinion, I'm just to be completely honest. That's how I take it. Now, I don't think Griezmann, like David said, is that way. I think Griezmann is going to say, whatever it takes, coach, or whatever it takes. I can give you an advice or an opinion, but I mean, you guys decide. I think Griezmann is going to go kind of more that route. And that's going to be where Ricardo is going to have some situations, he's going to have to see who's the best coach. And like David said, a coach that's going to stay not just one season. You don't want that position to be a revolving door, because otherwise we're going to be on the totem pole, even with Griezmann on there. We're not going to win a lot of games. You know what I mean? Do we want him to be our next Shaqiri, Xherdan Shaqiri? Of course not, right? We want to be able to win trophies with Griezmann, and the best way is to find a coach that's going to set that up. Build from what Oscar left.
Well, I think the only manager they would consider that would have a short kind of a time with Orlando is somebody like Felipe Luis, because we know he does want to like coach in bigger leagues and in Europe. So I could see them, because of his Flamengo connections, them being like, okay, you only want to be here 2 years or something like that. Okay, I could see that, but I would feel better about trying to convince a coach of a higher pedigree of, hey, we'd like you to stick around for a little while, build something, continue to build out our academy, play with the kids that we have available. Because that's my biggest thing, is I want a manager, yes, a manager that, has great strategy, makes great substitutions, tactically can get these guys prepared and up for games. But I want a manager who also understands that we have kids that have talent and they're willing to play them. Because one thing Oscar Pareja did not do well at his time with Orlando City, but he did do really well with his time at FC Dallas, is he didn't play the kids. And, like, the kids had talent, right? We said this all the time. We're like, Alex Freeman should have probably been brought in a year earlier than he was.
100%.
But Oscar Pareja didn't play him, right? I mean, how many... Granados never even sniffed the first team, and he got sold to Europe, and now he's playing for Braga. Like, and he's not that far removed from all of that. So, like... That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, of like, again, I don't want a manager to come in here and just play the kids and just play the academy like Jim Curtin, right? I'm not looking for a Moneyball manager. That's not what I want. I do want a manager, though, that can look at this academy and say, oh, okay, you guys are competing at U19, U17, U15, U13 levels. You have a lot of talent here. Let me get the Griezmanns and the other higher level talent, but let me figure out how to take these kids and stack them into the team as well, not only for depth purposes, but to get a couple starters out of them, right? Because, you're seeing Ellis kind of have his breakout right now. Should Justin Ellis have featured more at the end of last year? Probably.
I agree.
But he wasn't. And so now we're in this situation again where, and again, no offense to Perlman, but I don't think Perlman does this unless Duncan McGuire's hurt. I think he runs Duncan McGuire into the ground. And so that's why I'm not convinced that... That's why I'm not convinced by Perlman. I think he's still too much of what Oscar Pareja's camp was, because he was here a long time. Obviously 2 years as an assistant with Oscar Pareja, another, 2 years, 3 years with OCB and his connection with Oscar Pareja. He's kind of infected, sounds bad. I don't mean the negative connotation behind it, but he was influenced by Oscar Pareja in his time here. And so Perlman is still holding on too much to his Oscar Pereja connections, and it's not good enough for me. I want to see a bigger breakaway from that. We need to get clean of that idea and that mindset. And again, if Perlman coaches well enough and he could be an assistant on a new manager's staff, then fine. Like if Marcelo Gallardo comes in, right, and he says, hey, I like what Perlman does on the offensive side. He does all this nice stuff. I'd love to have him as an assistant coach. That's fine by me because Marcelo Gallardo is running the show. But if it's not, then I'm okay with just saying, hey, Perlman, we appreciate it, but like we're bringing somebody else in, they're bringing their staff in, and somebody who can really understand this game a little bit better, because I'm still not sold by substitutions and sometimes some of the tactics that come into it.
Right, and not only that, I mean, this year, this is going to benefit us in a way because we've seen so many new faces, and like you said, maybe some faces that we should have seen a season ago or more. And we're seeing them now, which is going to build not only internal competition, but it's going to, if a new manager comes at the helm, is going to, I feel, if it's the right manager, like you said, you're putting a lot of investment in that facility in OHB, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to segue. And again, this is what differentiates us from Inter Miami, the Rowdies. Like, I'm talking about Florida teams. All right, guys? This is what difference us and understand the way Orlando City does things. Many years, draft, now pareja, tough on the kids, right? Not putting a lot of the kids, having the set starting 11 and set bench. But when it comes to Perlman, the floodgates open, and we had to bring this influx of youth in because we needed it, because otherwise we don't have anybody to put on the depth chart. But this, in a way, is a good thing for the coach that comes up, because he's going to say, okay, you have a pipeline, so a serious coach, right? Let's say, let's give a name, Jurgen Klopp, let's say, right? Let's say, okay, you have a pipeline. Okay, so he's going to go, and out of 100 freaking kids from U18s, MLS Next Pro, 55 kids, he's going to go and he's going to pick the best. He's going to start and put him into rotation in practices. And then after that, hey, why don't we just put him in this game? Throw him in the League Cup. Throw him in the U.S. Open Cup. Something that Oscar should have been doing the past a season or two. Right? Yeah. But we didn't. There was a part in which, I think it was a year ago, the team got burned out, like and injuries because there was no rotation, because we were afraid of putting the Ellises, putting the Caraballos. You know what I mean? After that monster game from Tampa against the Rowdies and Caraballo balled out, did we see him again after that?
No.
We did not.
Let me say two more points of this game before we move on and kind of talk about what's next in the Open Cup. Number one, I didn't like that there weren't more attackers on the bench. I thought this game should have had at least one more attacker, whether that was Sajarin, Caraballo, whoever it was. I think there should have been at least one more attacker on the bench. I was a little worried about that. Obviously, it worked out for us, but I was a little worried about that. And then the second thing is, Tincho looks gassed, man. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what we need to do to get him involved. He's really only had like one or two good games this season. Last night, he looked gassed, especially late in the game. They've got to find a way to get him some rest at this point, and B, find a way to get him invigorated, because I don't know. I still don't think there's enough there. I still think, they've got to find a way to spark him a little bit. But anyway, to get to more positive, and Luis was about to pull up the bracket, this morning was the draw for the U.S. Open Cup. And so what they do at this part of the tournament is they split it between East and West, right? So obviously we were on the East side, and our side, it was us, Atlanta, Columbus, and NYCFC. And two of the teams could not host, so we actually lucked out. So Atlanta and NYCFC could not host because of World Cup prep. So the only two teams that could host were us and Columbus. So we lucked out, and so we ended up being one of the host teams. And we picked who I thought was the easiest team to play at that point, which is Atlanta United. And so Atlanta, we'll be taking on Atlanta. It's going to be either the 19th or the 20th of May. And what makes that game incredibly unique is we play Atlanta the weekend before that game happens at home as well on Saturday, May 16th, which is incredibly interesting. So we'll actually be playing Atlanta back to back in that stretch, which is really interesting. So I thought we got a good end of the draw. Unfortunately for the semifinals, which of course, if we get past Atlanta, we would then play the winner of Columbus or NYCFC. We would play that game away. However, the benefit for that one is that game does not happen until after the World Cup break. So at that point, we would have Griezmann, and that game could completely change in terms of what that looks like and everything. So we take on Atlanta, so that'll be a double F Atlanta week for us as we take them on twice. And then it'll be really interesting, and obviously we'll break it down when we get closer, but it'll be a really interesting week because I wonder if the coaches try to be extra special with how they approach the first game because they want to maybe save it for the second game. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how that week shakes up and what that looks like.
Now, with all due respect to the USL, this is the reason why, I know it's gonna sound so evil what I'm about to say, but I mean they need to be bought out. With all due respect, they need to be bought out. I mean, there's got to be USL teams getting to semis or quarterfinals. I mean, it looks like an MLS tournament. Like look at the bracket. It's pretty much all MLS teams. So, I mean,
yeah, but I
know.
mean, but when you're talking about spend though, Luis, like the MLS teams are spending 2, 3, 4 times more than some of these USL squads are.
Like I understand that the MLS is a little evil and they're not giving them the right. I understand the grassroots is where it's with USL and I love that. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's gonna be tough. You cannot have 2 D1 leagues, man. It's not gonna happen. It's not. It's just it's fugazi. It's smoke bombs. It will never happen. So at some point, how much the money can stretch in these markets. And we be completely honest. Does it make business sense? I mean, what business sense means is absorbing the USL and get rid of the MLS Next Pro. I mean, that would be my way, to be completely honest, because I feel MLS Next Pro level, I think USL is still superior than MLS Next Pro level. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel USL, but it's not yet at MLS level USL. And I feel bad for the switchbacks. I feel bad for Louisville. I thought one of the two was going to make it past and unfortunately, neither one. I actually was checking out the switchbacks match against Colorado. Man, that was so unfortunate. I mean, they were heartbroken, bro. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, that would have been cool to see a USL team. I would love to see a USL team in this instances. Like at some point in 2022, Orlando City faced
Sacramento.
Sacramento, right? So
yeah.
It says Racing Anchor. How you guys? This is Racing Rhode Island FC fan here. The Revs suck. Hope you guys enjoy our home.
It was a beautiful stadium. I'll say that. I'm sorry that I'm sorry it was so empty and the Red Bull or the Revs supporter section had to use a megaphone for like the first half of the game. That was annoying.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the point. Is that their salary? There's no salary spend there at all.
Yeah, we need
which again is unfortunately the way that the league does it. And again, I talked about this with the Naples game. Like having VAR throughout this tournament would be super helpful.
100%.
But we can't do it because USL reneged on the whole idea of like putting VAR into stadiums and making it required. And so there's just some issues with USL that
but this is the thing. It's, to me, I see it as, I mean, if you look at the business level, it's all about reaching across the aisle, and this is one thing that Don Garber does not do. You know what I mean? He wants to, you know what I mean? I understand the USL owners and I understand the fan bases and stuff, but Don Garber needs to go and literally give them also their place, not treat them like, like they're less than them, and go and try to reach across the aisle and come to some agreements. I'm sure if MLS puts a little bit more money in this tournament, and again, like I said, make the East play the US Open Cup, make the West do the stupid Leagues Cup, like MLS is gonna put a little bit more cash, like try to reach across the aisle because the money's there, bro. Like the whole Messi crap, like he's banked on the MLS. So I mean, it would just raise the level of USL completely. On a personal level, I think I would love to see more teams. Pro Rel, you just need somebody else at the helm, dude. Because with Garber is into this anti USL type of sentiment too. You know what I mean? To the point that he created the MLS Next Pro because we no longer need USL. You know, remember back in the day, David. You know, you will have some of your youth, you know, competing in USL and things like that. Not anymore, right? And I think
Well,
USL.
part of the problem though too was that the USL teams wouldn't play kids, and so the whole point of you loaning them to USL was to get playing time, and they didn't get playing time. And so that's why MLS Next Pro was like, okay, well, if these MLS teams have so much money, which they do, because their owners are not, you know, poor,
Right.
they were like, hey, let's go and make this league. But then there was that news that came out today that that you know the MLS Next Pro system is gonna change because they sold it. They're doing that joint venture with KKR to commercialize Next Pro. And one of the things that was suggested in that was that they would move MLS Next Pro teams that are affiliated to MLS clubs to a nearby mid-sized market. And then that firm would help the construction of building multi-purpose stadiums that would seat 6,000 to 8,000 people. So if that were to take place, OCB would have to move out of Orlando City, like Orlando, the city proper, and move to like either like back to Brevard or like somewhere along that corridor somewhere else, and they would build the stadium somewhere else. And again, you're not going to get people who support the kids all that much, which right now these clubs struggle with. But number two, if you want to send them back and forth, it's going to be harder for you to send these kids back and forth because you're going to move them. Yeah. So it's just this. It's like I just don't think this league doesn't know what to do with its MLS Next Pro teams a lot of the time. Number one, but then secondly, I'm not going to beat up on USL because the money disparity is just too great. Like their leaders of that league need to help them in some way that they can. But then secondly, as to your point, Don Garber needs to stop being like, no, we're just better than you. Shut up, little brother. Like we're kicking you to the side. They need to do a better job at connecting that. But like the latest rumor, for example, as well, was like Leagues Cup might expand to include the Canadian Premier League next year. Why? Like no one's asking for that.
Bro.
But like there's a thought that like they're going to add the Canadian Premier League next year. And it's like, but what are we gaining from that? And then, of course, we see what MLS is doing with Vancouver. We're like, they're not really helping Vancouver stay in Vancouver. They're trying to convince them to move to Vegas. So, like, there's all kinds of BS stuff going on with, like, MLS down the line. And
there are no Whitecaps in Vegas.
Yeah, and yeah, so I don't know. It's really interesting. But anyway, moving to this weekend and moving closer to home, we go down to Miami and we take on the Flamingos.
Yeah. Look, be honest with you. We need to keep seeing that never quit mentality from the boys. The best way I could say that we have a key, any sort of willingness to win here is to stay compact, and we need to have somebody to limit Messi because Messi's going to try to go on and go off and go on and go off, stop and go, win the second balls offensively. That's what's going to be it. Quick transitions with Ivan Angulo, set pieces. I think what we saw with Iago was important. The corner kicks, and then Ellis, Spicer coming in as a spark. That's going to be huge. Ojeda, hopefully with a better game. Hopefully this is the game in which Ojeda balls out. But again, stay compact, limit Messi. Who's going to be the person who's going to be right behind Messi? More than likely, I feel Brian Ojeda. I think Brian Ojeda has national team experience. He's a player who's going to play in the World Cup, just like Messi. And one thing I ask is, yes, Messi's the almighty. You're going to see Messi and you're going to say, oh, Messi, great guy, right? Oh, superstar. bro, you gotta check him. Like I know it's gonna sound wrong what I'm about to say, but you gotta check him from the get go. You
Well,
gotta
and
show him.
to play devil's advocate, Luis, I think that should be Otavio. I think you should tell the
It could,
kid,
it could be
"Hey,
too. Yeah, it could.
don't be afraid of the moment. Just go out there
It's
and be on him like the sun on a sunbather, right? Like
like it's just that I
just
feel
stay on him
like
the whole game."
I just feel with Otavio because he's Brazilian. He may be a little more hot headish than Brian Ojeda. But again, you make a great point. I think he can do it too. What I'm trying to say is treat, and I'm going to say this to all the players, young players that we have that they've grown up watching Messi on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to Taifi. I'm talking to Ellis. I'm talking to everybody. F Messi. Like that's the
Yeah.
mentality you gotta have. He's another dude with two legs, two arms, a brain, and an anus. He poops just like you. He
Mm-hmm.
reads just like you. He drinks water just like you. He's human. It's 11 versus 11 on the pitch. Don't be asking for a picture. Don't be playing softer because you're afraid he's going to go and step on you. You know, be respectful. He's going to try to get in your face. He's going to try to talk to you. He's going to try
Mm-hmm.
to say, "Oh, who are you? Who are you? How many World Cups do you have? How many Champions Leagues do you have?" He's going to try to do that in Spanish. He's going to try to do that. Don't fall for it. Smile. Don't look at him. Just do your job. Don't this is just a mentality.
Yeah.
I've seen, bro, in the qualifiers for CONMEBOL how the Ecuadorians have played against Messi. And obviously if you compare Ecuador and Argentina in level, right?
Yeah.
Obviously right now they're kind of close, but before you didn't hear so much about Ecuador. I've seen how my own Peru played against Messi. We put Renato Tapia, which now plays in UAE, be right behind him the whole freaking game.
Yeah.
Being being close to him, and then Messi will go and yap and yap and yap and get frustrated. Now you have to understand that Paul is going to do the same thing. Suarez is going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the crowd around the stadium are going to do the same thing. This is a test for all these players. This is kind of like doing a thesis for like a certification, or like or to get a doctorate. I mean, you're playing against a top level guy, probably one of the toppest players right now in the world,
Right.
but he's another dude. Because I've seen, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, the only person in the pareja era that I felt really like played him to piss him off was Cesar Araujo. And Cesar Araujo was Uruguayan.
Yeah.
I also saw, but
And that's
I've
and that
seen some games in which some of the defense were a little passive.
yeah.
Wilder also had a couple of turnovers against him before because he knows him from the national team and things like that. After that, like you have to understand, this is a derby. You're playing against the rival in the state, and derbies are won, and the players need to play strong. And obviously, you're not gonna get a red card, but obviously, make sure that you check them. You check them. You gotta understand. You gotta let them know with your play. Hey, man, you want me to play you strong? You want me to check you, bro?
Yeah.
You got a World Cup coming up in a month. I'm gonna break you. Like so let me do what I want. Take his spot.
Well, and that's my point is that I think that and that's why I say Otavio should be that person because that's what I was thinking in my head is like
Good.
what Cesar
Yeah.
did that first game he had against Messi where like he just didn't let Messi do anything. That's all I tell Otavio to do. Don't let Messi get in your head. Don't listen to him talk. Don't let him let him spew his nonsense. All you need to do is make sure you keep him in front of you and that when he gets the ball, you bump him, you hit him. When you go in for a tackle, you go in a little extra hard, right? I'm not going to be mad if Otavio or Iago get a yellow card because they knock Messi on his ass. Like, show Messi that you're not there to be afraid of him, because that was honestly part of my issue when Schlegel would play Messi sometimes, is that he would get to like, oh, that's Messi, that's the god, we can't do anything, you know, all that kind of
Well,
stuff. Like, I don't need that, right? And then the other thing that we kind of need, which we saw earlier in the season, is I hope Show didn't forget about that game against Miami earlier this year. Remember, Show was talking to him after the game and was like, hey, what's your problem, talking to the bench and doing all that nonsense and whatever. Show should remember that, and Show should be carrying that into this game and being like, hey, man, we didn't forget. Like, understand it, right? So,
yeah, and like you mentioned, to add to it, I have not yet met an Argentinian that doesn't overly exaggerate and overly suck Messi's teeth. And again, and that goes with all due respect with the Argentinians in our squad,
yeah.
including the coach. Now, the good thing is, the only Argentinian that we have so far in this squad, it will be Martin Ojeda.
Mm-hmm.
So we already saw that Martin is a professional, right? That's the mentality you're gonna have. Unfortunately, culturally, all Argentinians, you know, they do that. I'll be completely honest. And again, I'm not gonna criticize and all of that. They come, you know, the best player ever, and that's perfectly fine. Probably he is. He's probably the best player ever. But you gotta understand, you are a win in that stadium against that team and against that player could catapult your season. Give that to your fans. I think the fans should come number one here.
And it puts you in the history books, because you'd be the first one to beat Miami in their stadium.
Exactly. So
and
that
talk about a black eye of like going in there and giving that on their record.
I have no doubt that Ellis, Taifi, like the kids that actually were in the youth for Orlando City, are going to come out with a knife on their teeth, ready to fight. I have no doubt, because they understand what this Orlando versus Miami match means, right?
Sure.
And they also understand that they're going to be in the big lights, and if they really want to be showcased worldwide, this is the game. This is their certification. This is their acknowledgement that they are ready for the MLS, playing against that guy. And I cannot stress that enough. That needs to be heard for the whole entire team. So I know Jensen understands it, and I understand Paraguayans and Argentinians sometimes have beef. So I'm sure Brian Ojeda doesn't care. But the Brazilians probably shouldn't care about Messi, you know, because they're Brazilians and Argentinians, you know what I mean? But it's going to happen, guys. They're gonna go like this. We gotta be ready to have the personality to go as strong as possible against them. Now, I understand that Otero is not going to be a goal, but we're probably going to see Crepeau again. Ellis and Ojeda are probably going to start, and Spicer is probably going to come in the second half. I still keep Thiago. Would you make any tactical changes to this lineup, David?
I think Dorsey comes in for Taifi.
Oh shoot! All right.
I just think they're at that point where they're gonna do that.
Me
and
too.
then I have heard through the grapevine,
okay,
that some of our questionable players the last couple weeks, some of them could be making the trip to Miami. So I've heard that people like Atuesta, Brecalo, maybe even Duncan McGuire could potentially be available for the weekend. But we'll have to see when the travel photos come out if some of those guys travel.
Well, I will put, if that's the case, then I would do this.
No, you don't take Angulo off.
No. I'm going to put Angulo here.
No, I think you play Angulo as a wingback. I think you're
So you will
making the
take Marin
mistake.
out. You'll take
No,
Marin out.
I leave Brekalo on the bench. Brekalo is the second worst rated defender on the team this season.
Okay, okay, makes
That's
sense.
not
So
even
you
that's not an argument. That's a statistical. He is the
no,
second worst rated defender on the season.
yeah, true.
Brekalo is a break in case of emergency at this point. You don't mess up the chemistry that Marine, Johnson, and Iago have had
Yeah,
over the
I
last
agree
couple
with you.
weeks. And you sure as hell don't put Atuesta in this game. Perlman, I'm talking to you when I say
Yeah,
this. Do
please,
not put Atuesta in this game.
please,
He has
because
not been good all year. Do not do it.
yeah, look. I'm gonna say it in Spanish. We're gonna need perros.
So I'm seeing this in the chat, Luis, of these people saying Angulo can't defend Messi. But the problem is, who else are you going to put at left wing back? Because you're not going to get the recovery or the go forward that Angulo is going to give you. So if you take Angulo off, what other... Okay, and even if you put him in Thiago's spot, that's fine. But who are you going to put in that spot that's going to defend? Tahir Reed Brown? That's asking a lot from Reed Brown, but maybe. Marin is not a good 1v1 defender.
No,
I don't
no.
want Marine on that side. Taifi doesn't get looks at left back, so I don't think it's going to be Taifi either. So I'm just saying by process of elimination, that's probably... Connor, I'm not going to watch Marin get burned for 90 minutes by
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
putting him at
yeah.
left back.
I agree with
I'm
you
just
there.
not going to do it. He is arguably one of the worst 1v1 defenders on the team. I'm not going to do that to Marin and ask him to go and do that. That's crazy.
Plus, Angulo is the heartbeat of the offense, with all due respect.
Yeah, I just don't think you can take away what he gives you in offensively. You just you could put him in Thiago's spot, sure, but then you miss the opportunity. You're taking off an offensive player either way, right? You're going one less in offense, hoping you can go and steal one there. And I just don't know that. There's enough there to gain something from that.
Now, this is going to be a tough test, but after beating,
no doubt,
after beating New England 4-3, an upset in soccer, there's no impossibles. So all I want to see, even if we have an L in this game, which is in the realm of possibilities that this could happen, we need to see an L in which we fight and we give our all and we tell Messi, if you keep doing your fancy I'm going to break you and you're going to have no World Cup to play. So you decide. So you either let me through or I'm going to break the door. Yeah. That's the attitude you got to have. I mean, unfortunately, I know that it sounds a little like violent, but I have, aside of Cesar Araujo and maybe Wilder a couple of times, I have not seen anyone. All I've seen is, Messi, el mejor del mundo, ¿viste? Es que Messi, ese es el mejor del mundo. Anda. Messi, ¿me podés dar tu camiseta para firmarla, che? Can you give me your autograph after the game? No hagan esa huevada, por favor. Don't do that stuff, please. Please don't do it. Like it's annoying, bro. Like we gotta understand, this is Orlando City. You gotta go and you gotta take it to them. This is could start Spicer, but the super sub idea works well for them. And not only that, the refs are probably going to be pro calling everything for them. So we gotta be ready for that. We gotta in practice do rotations, like, because it could harm us. It could be violent with Messi and DePaul, especially DePaul. I don't want to see DePaul on the World Cup squad. There you go. Start OCB, says Jeff.
Come on, start OCB. Come on.
He says no, Angulo cannot defend Messi. He says Donnie. He says, can Angulo defend
but he's not.
Messi?
But I think here's the understanding that I think that they're getting lost in some people and kind of how this formation works, right? Because Messi Messi's been starting on the right-hand side for Miami, and then he's been cutting in, so he starts in that right half space. Really, he's free-floating. He can float wherever he wants, but he starts on that right half space, and he comes in towards the center of the field. Since he's coming centrally, it becomes the focus of either Otavio or Brian Ojeda to be the number one level of marking, right? But then secondly, it becomes a center back's job to also step and make sure they know where Messi is. So at that point, it's going to be Marine, most likely, who's going to have to partner with Otavio to do that, or it could be Janssen. It depends on how centrally Messi gets. But one of them will be doing that, and then you free Angulo up to make the recovery, right? The quick recovery where Angulo can just kind of scoot in and grab the ball real quick and get it back upfield, right? So, because your whole goal with Messi is to slow him down until you can get fully ahead of him, like in front of him, and then either block the ball or take it away from him without fouling him. Because if he flops, he's gonna flop and ham it up and whatever. The nice thing is about this game is the referee is Guido Gonzalez Jr. And Guido Gonzalez Jr. has actually been pretty positive towards us. So with us having him as a ref, which has been 11 games so far, our win percentage is 54.5%. And we have a 10% draw percentage. So we get a result about 65% of the time with him as the ref. For Miami, it doesn't bode well for them. They only have a 36.4% win percentage with Guido Gonzalez as their referee. So he doesn't really take Miami's crap and like allow them to do all the BS that they do. So the ref, knock on wood, should not be the problem in this match, thankfully, because sometimes the ref is a problem. So at that point, what I would say is, wherever Messi lines up, again, like we said, put a midfielder on him. There should be a midfielder shadowing him all game. And then the second line of defense, as they get to that back three, is one of the center backs should also be tasked if Otavio or Brian Ojeda gets beat somehow or he gets around them somehow, they're the next level to say, okay, I've got Messi behind this guy, and then allow Angulo and Dorsey to come in and make those long running recoveries to steal the ball from them and move the ball upfield. Because that's the one thing about Miami that they don't have is they don't have a ton of speed, really, on a lot of their team. So take advantage of the fact that they're a bit of a slower team. Because Messi's not going to track back. Berterame is not going to track back. DePaul gives up or he complains, and so he doesn't really track back either. So take that to your advantage, right? Flip the script on them and force them, to try to play quick when they can't play quick. And so those are the kind of things that I think you keep in the game. And then you don't sacrifice Angulo coming off of the field, right? The other thing that you could see, and we saw this a lot yesterday, and I'm sure Luis can agree with me on this, is they, in the second half especially, they had Angulo playing more centrally, right? I don't know if you noticed this, but he would tuck in towards the middle of the field, and he would kind of collect the ball and move the ball through the center of the field. Don't be surprised if they ask Angulo to do something like that, where like maybe in defending, they're asking one of the midfielders to slide in and kind of make like a back four when the team has the ball. But Angulo in that moment, instead of staying wide to the left, is slipping in and kind of getting the ball in sort of the left, wide channel / that central channel that's there, and he's able to kind of play through the ball that way. That way it's going to gum up the middle of the field, and Messi's not going to get as many opportunities with that. The only problem is you can't turn the ball over. And this team, unfortunately, has turned the ball over a decent amount this year, so they have to avoid turning the ball over for sure.
Yeah, and with that, every single Miami home game so far has seen both teams score. So with Orlando already netting in multiple road games, despite obviously their poor form, they have a clear path to get on the scoreboard if they're effective. And so right now, Inter Miami, according to Foodie Stats, they concede 0.90 goals per game after halftime, which is higher than the first half. So Orlando should stay organized early, absorb pressure, and push off the counter, especially push for the winner in the second half, which it shows that Miami at home have dropped points multiple times. Now, Miami leads right now the league in possession, but their shot conversion, it's negative 13. So it's Orlando right now, it's they have around 9 clearances per game usually. So that tells you that We're being kind of improving defensively, especially with Robin coming back. So defend compactly and hit on the break. We have to be smart on that. And if we're gonna hit him on the break, we have to be effective, and that comes with Ojeda, Thiago, Ellis, and not only that, another option that they could do. And then, as I wanted to also bring it out, if you agree, but I mean, if you look at the squad, especially the attacking third, the Carvalhos, the Otavios, the Ojedas, the Ellises, and the Ojedas, they're all players that can shoot from distance, and they all have really good technical ability to shoot the ball. Otavio already shown it with that goal that he scored. Ojeda has shown on RSL. He's had a couple of bangers. Carvalho as well with Bahia. Ellis, obviously, and obviously Tincha, especially in the set piece opportunities. We need to go back to that. So rather than passing it back and doing the extra pass, which is kind of like what we're used to with Orlando City, just shoot the damn ball. Just shoot it. When in doubt, just shoot it. You know what I mean? And when you defend, clear it. You know what I mean? Like, just clear it out.
Yeah, for real.
Like, because what happens is, if we're doing this tiki-taka passing of possession, and with fast players that go into pressure you, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tougher. And so just clear it. And you just keep it simple, clear the ball, shoot from distance. That's another option Orlando can use. So start doing. If I'm Coach Broman, I know I'm nobody to meddle into his tactics, but I would start doing set piece practices. I'm sure they've probably done in for this game coming up. But I would also start doing drills from shooting from distance. Prepared plays, essentially. If you start working on prepared plays to shoot from distance and utilize Ojeda, Brian, Otavio, and even Thiago, I mean, it's going to be great, because the second balls, you're going to have two killers up top. You're going to have Ojeda and Ellis, one for the rebound.
I think the goal of this game, and I think this is how Perlman's going to tell them to play it, is I think he's going to ask them to try to get them in the counter, right? I don't think he's going to.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to like have them build these huge offensive, 20 pass plays and then we get a goal. I think it's going to be kick him in the teeth as quickly as you can, try to catch him as quickly as you can. The only thing I will say is, don't bunker against this team. You cannot bunker against Inter Miami and hope that you're going to hold on. It's just a bad idea, right? If you get one, go for two. If you get two, get a third. And then when you're at 70 minutes left or whatever it is, then settle back down and see if you can kind of pack the game in and do what you need to do. But as Luis and I have been saying since the beginning, you've got to frustrate Messi. The more frustrated he gets, the worse he gets. He's not going to run. He's not going to do the extra work off the ball. Neither is DePaul. DePaul's just going to sit there and complain and whine and all that kind of stuff. So just allow them to complain and whine and continue to play your game. Bertarame, he's on a hotter streak right now, but he didn't have a great start to the season. Continue to just get in his head, get in his face. Don't let him get service from the ball. Just continue to just frustrate them and all that kind of stuff, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, and again, we're going to read some comments. Let's see here. Iago can do long shots too. Donnie Moore, over 3.5 goals. Feels like a lockdown. Says, thank you, Donnie.
Yeah.
Marion is much better a center back. Obacetic Buddha, thank you. Jeff does a thing. Start OCB. There you go. But yeah, I mean,
score
we
prediction,
need
Luis. What are you thinking?
Look, score prediction. You're smiling. Look, I'm gonna sing the Orlando version of their song. En Orlando yo nací, tierra de Gallardo y Kaká. De los pibes de pareja que jamás olvidaré. No te lo puedo explicar porque no vas a entender. No, I'm gonna go Orlando 2, Inter 1. Massive
Wow.
win.
You think Orlando City's defense is gonna hold them to 1 goal?
Bro, it's going to be a penalty.
Okay, all right. Um, yeah, I'm not optimistic about that. I'm
Please don't tell
I'm
me
going.
9-0 because I'll be.
Yeah, no, I'm going the other way. I think it's going to be a 3-1 loss
All right, well, 2 goal difference.
because Miami's averaging, I think it's like almost 2 goals per game, and we're still on average at like, I think it's like 2.3 goals per game allowed. So I think it ends up being like 3-1, 2-1, 3-1, but I think it's going to be 3-1. I just think this team's a little tired. I don't think that I'm just worried that they might not have the energy to get up for this one. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong, but I just I don't know. I just have a feeling. Listen, and Landon says this. I love Luis's prediction as well, but I don't have the confidence right now that I
Look,
think they
let
can
me tell you
necessarily pull it
something.
off.
Let me tell you something. The ILF is going to be there.
Sure.
Kudos to Logan and everybody, and to Kayla, to everybody.
Sure.
So it's gonna be great. I know that I saw a picture. They have a bunch of stickers. Man, that Bad Bunny sticker they have is cool. If you guys, I'll buy it. You guys, a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, Guilla Carlos's prediction right here.
Jesus, yeah, 8-1 Miami.
I do not want to see that. Now,
Yikes.
I would rather much have David's prediction of 3-1 because at
They
least with
lose.
that,
They lose 8-1. You leave people in Miami. If they
yeah,
lose 8-1, you leave people in Miami.
2 goal differential, understandable. I understand the difference. Maybe it didn't pan out the way it wanted to. You can still work on the 3-1 loss, right?
Yeah.
But an 8-1, it's going to be a demoralizer. It's going to be a shot in the. I don't want to do that because then they'll eliminate the video. But I mean, I'm talking about it will be devastating mentally for the kids. I really don't think that's going to happen. Hopefully, and if it does, I know what I'll do. Mikey D, come on, we can't be their first win in the
I
stadium.
agree, Mikey. This team has not consistently put in a solid performance against
Man,
a
I
tough
know.
opponent. I mean, Charlotte
I mean,
was the only one you can point to, but then we didn't do a great job at carrying the momentum from that Charlotte game. So
look, our reason to call Hoobastank. I'm sure you guys have heard who Hoobastank is.
yeah.
The reason tells us Anel probably it's normal, right?
Yeah.
Anel, base, but our heart, we can't lose against Miami. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm there, man. Like if my score prediction was off my heart, I'm with Luis's prediction. This is 2-1, 3-1, we win. But like I just this team has not put together back-to-back performances like this. I thought last night was too close. We didn't really carry the momentum from Charlotte. Like there needs to be more for me to see it.
Look, Adrian says second from the bottom playing against the second from the top. I agree with you. But in football, it can happen. It happened with Real Madrid, the almighty Real Madrid, in Champions League 3 years ago. They play this team called Sheriff. You guys probably remember the Sheriff team from like a really Eastern European team. I don't know from what country, Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan or something like that. It was like a really like far off team. Sheriff. And Sheriff beat Real Madrid with Vini, with everybody. So with Modric, with everybody. So in soccer, it could show us that things could change. Now, I do want to say, unfortunately, and this is going to be controversial what I'm about to say, Inter, it's not in my cup of tea. so much also for what they're representing currently. And a league darling, I'm short to say they're a league darling, because even accredited media, it's being they're blocking in, media. They're also, they have their own, they've done their own, so people know and the fans know they've done their own um mix zone area in their new stadium, which is prohibited by the MLS, but apparently they're allowed to do it. So that what it does is that tells the other clubs is okay. So that means that if Inter is not opening the locker rooms to media for interviews, then why should I? You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit, so that it's negatively impacting the league, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's that's not the example Messi came here to the league for. I mean, if you compare the impact Beckham has had as a player compared to what Messi, yes, Messi probably made the league more money, but what's going to be your legacy in the MLS? Does that? I mean, I'm looking at a kid like Rothrock, for example, from Seattle, like his story, and playing against like Messi, and then Messi calling him, doing this to him, and bringing, treating him like he's a piece of trash. You know what I mean? That's not something Beckham would do back in when he was a player with the Galaxy. You know what I mean? So, like, if you look at Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, what he talked about strongly about the Saudi league and said vocally, said we want to leave a good example. Like, it's a complete difference what we've seen. I don't know. People say, "Oh no, he's a loner. He doesn't speak to media," to the point that he's brought his own. And I'm going to say that people don't know this. Inter, they had a communications director. They had a communications people from hired by Inter. But last season, Messi brought somebody else, his own people, to the media. And then some of the people that were working in communications, they went to other departments within Inter. So that type of stuff, it's what kind of annoys me about Inter, be honest with you. It's like the whole, I get to do things, but then the rest of the rest of the league doesn't. You know what I mean? So let's now show on the pitch that we can shut them up. And what better than with soccer? Any thoughts on Anthony Martial coming in? I don't know if you want to talk about that little thing.
Yeah, we talked about it on last show. There was a rumor that came out that apparently we're willing to give Monterrey peanuts, as I jokingly said, we're willing to give them like the money to pay the paperwork fee, and that's about it to bring him over. I've looked at some stats since. I'm not the biggest fan of what he can bring. It really just depends on his contract, too. I would not make him a DP. There's no chance in all that is holy that I would make him a DP. I wouldn't even make him a high TAM player. I would maybe give him like a mid-level TAM prove-it contract if he really wanted to add an attacker that kind of Griezmann knows a little bit. But I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced by it. I don't know right now where he makes this team better. To be honest with you. And then sort of like what Luis's big concern is, and my concern isn't as big as Luis's is on this, is that you would need to have a conversation with them and be like, hey, you've had some outbursts this season. What's the deal? Like, what's going on there? Because we don't want to invite bad attitudes into the locker room, or we don't want to invite issues into the locker room. What is going on? There's been reports that the reason why he had those outbursts was because he was promised playing time and he was promised other things, and Monterrey didn't give that to him. And so that's why he's had his like little outbursts and hissy fits. But like, what's to say he won't do the same thing at Orlando? does Griezmann keep him in check? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm finding it difficult to find where Martial would fit into this team, to be honest with you. But yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if like that rumor actually ends up being true. Because if you don't remember, Luis a couple weeks ago checked with some people and they said there was nothing to it. So I do think it's interesting that it popped up again though, because it makes me think that like maybe we did ask, or like maybe we're just going.
It could be also his agent.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, it could be.
No.
Or this time around, Griezmann could have been like, "Hey, my guy's struggling over there in Monterrey. See if like he'll come for cheap, and maybe he could be another piece on this team or whatever." I don't know. I have no idea, what that looks like. But, jeez.
There you go, bro. This is the solution we need up top.
Oh no.
You know it, man. You know it. This is the solution we need up top. Let's make it happen. Or what about this one? Look. That's your boy right there.
Memphis. I wish.
Right? Or if you wanna, just sell some jerseys right here. I could tell you, man, all three look really cool in purple, bro.
But remember, he's linked to Cincinnati, so that would be really tough for us.
Skyline Chili, or
I mean, I'm just saying he's linked to Cincinnati, so.
Bro, Skyline Chili, bro. I'm sorry, man, but Skyline Chili, come on, man. Who will be the replacements for Marco Pasalic since he may? Can he play goalkeeper?
No, none of them were good enough to play goalkeeper.
It says, who will be the replacement for Marco Pasalic? Since we might, I mean, we don't know yet. I mean, if he's gonna be leaving. But.
Well, and I'll say this: I don't be surprised if the permanent manager continues to play this formation of like a 3-5-2 or whatever you want to call it. Don't be surprised if they target a different type of player. Like they might. I've heard rumors that it could be like a prolific number 9. Could be somebody that they target if Pasalic goes. I've heard that they could potentially go after a world-class box-to-box midfielder. That could be somebody that would be on the radar. I'm not gonna say names, but I'm just saying that could be somebody they'd look at as well. So it might not be a like for like, because I think right now, even on this team, I don't know that Pasalic plays a great position on this team right now. He's kind of positioned out. Because at least with Angulo, you're playing him as a wing back. He can get forward. He can at least get his recoveries, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Pasalic. I do have it on pretty decent authority that the plan is to have Pasalic back before the World Cup break. I've heard that from a couple of different sources, that the plan is to have Pasalic back before the World Cup break. I don't know how many games that would be, though, because obviously we're running out of time and we're running out of games. I heard that, this treatment that he went to Europe for, a lot of people reported that he went to Europe for his treatment. A lot of it was because it was just easier and faster to get his treatment done in Europe. And also it helped with, I think, some of the treatment that he was getting. It's a little bit more open and a little bit more freeing in Europe than in the United States. It's a little bit harder to get some of that stuff done quickly. So he went to Europe to try to get that done. So yeah, so I think that's kind of the fix there, but yeah, that's kind of the situation.
So there is going to be a lot of changes coming next year because a lot of
summer, I would argue.
Yeah, in the summer, I mean, it's going to free up a lot of stuff. So we may be seeing the last of, unfortunately, Wilder Cartagena. We may be seeing, I mean, the Atuesta thing. I still don't believe why, but whatever. Nico Rodriguez definitely is going to be gone, especially after what I'm sure the allegations. I never brought it up, but people could look in the internet, and
I think even before the allegations, Luis, there wasn't a high chance he was going to be back anyway. So
yeah, so then, and then who you're going to have as well. So Joran Gervais is his contract's up, so he has options. I don't know if he's going to stay. I mean, he's a great player. I would love to keep him, but again, I don't make those decisions. They're going to have to make they have all the kids. Those kids will stay, but then also if they sell Marco, there'll be an international slot available. Also, you have to understand we could buy international slots. So
Yeah, but it would look weird for us at this point in the
yeah,
season to buy one because we sold one to Atlanta to start the season.
yeah.
And don't
So
forget, like Spicer and Atuesta should be close to getting their green cards. So both of them will be eligible to get green cards at this point. Like
yeah,
you said, you'll get Pasalic off of one. Right now, really the way to think about it is we have one spot open. That's how we were able to bring
mm,
Nacho Gomez up and down and
that's
Pedro
for
Leal.
Griezmann.
But to me, that spot's for Griezmann, so you got to keep that spot open. And then, like I said, you can quickly probably make one with Atuesta and with Spicer. The problem is you can't make one for Iago, Tiago, or Otavio because they're all new, so you won't be able to get that done. But around like the end of this season into like the beginning of next season, they could potentially get green cards as long as we have the right, law team on it and stuff like that, and they work on that. You could get some spots freed up there. So
As I believe this Griezmann acquisition will be the first one of new big
I hope
names. Yeah.
so. I hope so.
I can certainly say that per sources, I've heard the same thing that David said in regards to finding I don't know if they're going to make it a big three like in Miami, but there's definitely going to be a big two. And we're going to see somebody that's going to complement Griezmann. He's not going to be by himself, which is what kind of.
Yeah, let me say this as well, and I think this is something I've been doing research on, and again, I'll have to double check the math, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Iago, technically, because of what we brought him in for, it was like 1.5 million, and then we'll have to see what his annual salary is when the numbers come out in the summer. But technically, he could be taken off of a U22 spot if we wanted to bring in another like high level youth player that's 22 or under.
Right.
I'm not saying that like we'll continue to do that, but if we wanted to, because of how low Iago's fee was compared to everybody else's, theoretically he could be taken off a U22 and you can add another like young kind of up and coming like star if you wanted to try to add in a spot.
I will bring somebody in the defense. Or
I was going to say, my thought, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, left wing back. 100%. What if you brought in a left wing back who could, when Angulo needs a rest, or if you want to put Angulo higher up the field, you bring in a left wing back who can get forward but also defend? That would be awesome if we could find like a young left wing back that you could bring in.
And right now, I understand we're poaching a lot of Brazil and Argentina, but I do, and again, I'm no scout, but I do watch a lot of South American soccer. I think if you want to go South American, Ecuador right now, it's one of the hot spots of sending players to Europe. And there's a big market in the MLS for Ecuadorian players. They've kind of Ecuador is becoming a lot of good academies like Liga, also Independiente del Valle, IDV. So it's brewing. I think you'd be understandable to, and they're fast wing backs. I mean, because that's the system they play, 3-back with wing backs. And I mean, Liga plays on that same system as Orlando City right now. And when I saw and they have, man, these guys are fast and they're 19, 20. Like, I mean, it's crazy. And obviously you see William Pacho in PSG, you see Moy Caicedo in Chelsea, which I heard Xavi Alonso is going to be the new coach of Chelsea. Like, what are they doing over there? But whatever. It says, how about Pedro Leal? When can he be brought over? Oh, well, that's a good.
I mean, he can technically be signed to a senior contract now if they wanted to. The problem is you would need to open up an international roster spot for him, and then
like Nacho.
Yeah, I would say at this point, I feel like the club probably looks at Nacho over Pedro Leal. But if they keep him on OCB for the entire year, and then let's say Pedro Leal gets his green card, it makes it easier for the club to want to like sign him up to the first team, if that makes sense.
I like having Pedro Leal as an option in striker.
Yeah, the area would just get really clogged because Griezmann's going to come in. He's going to play as a false 9. He'll play up top. You'll obviously have Ellis. You'll have
Ellis.
Duncan when Duncan comes back. If the club goes after a prolific striker, that's 4 then that you have up top there. So it becomes really cluttered, and I don't really know where the room for Pedro Leao is at that point.
I
So
mean,
I
the
could
way
see OCB stashing Leao for a year and then looking at next year and like when he gets a green card.
yeah, because the way I see it right now, I mean, with all the respect, but when it comes to Duncan, I mean, I know he has contract till 2027, but he's
I would sell him if you can.
yeah, I'll probably get an international slot plus a cheesesteak and some money, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, it's been a good pod today. I want to thank everyone. I want to kind of show everybody a couple of things real quick before I go. So, I'm like, I thought that was really cool. So look at that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah. That's
I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
yeah. So we're definitely ready for the World Cup. There's going to be starting tomorrow, May 1st. You're going to see a lot of changes in our social media. So we're accredited. We're ready to go. You're going to get to know like who's going to be running the show for the whole entire couple months that we're going to be there. I wanted to show you guys see if it was a possibility to show you guys. I think I already showed you guys the logo that we're going to have. And right here is this one right there. So it's coming up. And we also have our new kind of like what you put on the thumbnail. Look at this right there. So all of that is going out live soon. And there's going to be also videos about some of the teams, and it's going to be cool to have you guys kind of. It's the biggest tournament in the world for soccer, so we definitely love the fact that we're representing Central Florida with it, and excited. It's going to be exciting news. I want to thank Oz because Oz has been working on helping us out for all of that, and we're excited to have him in. I want to say hello to Isabella as well, our photographer that's probably watching right now the pod. So thank you for joining me in this adventure. And yeah, thank you guys for your support. It would not be possible without you guys. So, and also thanks to Orlando City and Orlando Pride and Tampa Bay Sun and U.S. Soccer and every single team that we've covered. For the past like 4 or 5 seasons now. So it definitely means a lot, and we're excited. Go ahead,
I got
man.
2 things I want to add. So don't forget, as Luis talked about in the beginning of our show, we've got a Discord. There's a lot of great conversations going on the Discord. So check us out over there. Luis gave me some of the keys already to the Discord. We got a couple more permissions and stuff we're going to tweak, but we're hoping to use more and more of the Discord. So really exciting stuff over there. I added a bunch of channels in today and added a bunch of stuff in there. So awesome stuff there. And then if you'd like to hear my dulcet tones a little bit more this week, I joined John W. from In 90 Minutes on his Extra Time pod. We talked about potential moves we could see in the summer. We talked about the banner that got put up that talked about being was it exploited, I think it was, or something like that. We talked about the banner last show, but
Stop exploiting our youth or something.
Yes. So we talked about like exploiting the supporters. So John and I talked about a little bit about that and what that meant to us and what we thought about it. So yeah, if you want a little extra dose of me this week, you can check it out on there. And then last but not least, Orlando City B returns home this weekend. They play on Sunday. You can catch them on Sunday. They play the best team in MLS Next Pro this weekend. They play Charlotte's affiliate, Crown Legacy FC. So they play them this weekend. So a really tough game for the kids this weekend, but this will show how competitive they can really be. So this should be an interesting game for Orlando City B this weekend. I plan to be there on Sunday as long as the weather holds up, because it's supposed to be pretty bad weather on Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. But my plan is to be there on Sunday. So remember, if you're a season ticket holder, you get those tickets for free. If you're not a season ticket holder, ask one because I bet they have the tickets just burning a hole in their pocket. But it's only $10 to go down in Osceola Heritage. So go check it out if you can. I will definitely be there. So if you see me there, feel free to stop by, have a chat with me. I'm always willing to talk Orlando City. I had a couple fans come by and chat with me for a little bit last game. So yeah, always love to chat and chop it up and all that stuff. So big weekend for Orlando City this weekend. A lot of stuff going on. So
Yeah. Also, the Orlando Pride is playing on Saturday against Washington Spirit. I'll be there.
yeah, 4 o'clock kick, right? It's like in the middle of the day.
I mean,
That's crazy.
all I'm gonna say is this: I hope, I hope, hope to God, please, Jesus, that there's no thunder.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because there was a couple times this year already that it's a 4 o'clock start and then there's freaking thunder, and then I get out of there at 1 a.m. It's annoying as hell. So hopefully everything goes well. And Leagues Cup.
Be careful if you're headed out there too. It's 91 degrees on Saturday, so it's gonna be a hot one.
That'll be a hot one. But anyways, guys, thank you for your support. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully with a W for Orlando City. It's gonna be a magical night. Hopefully not an 8-1. But we'll see you guys next week. And vamos Orlando. Take care, guys. Have a good one.